Well, good morning, and I think that I just wasted an hour by broadcasting to dead air. But only time will tell, and we make these mistakes, don't we? Yes, Keith, we do. I'm Keith Hayes. This is Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewis. A lovely old hotel, very, very ancient and a very historical, if that's the right word. It sounds like hysterical, doesn't it? But here we are on the Friday morning. It is the 27th of May, 2022, and we hopefully can brighten your day before you go off into the wilderness and try hard to enjoy what's going on outside. And I may say to you that it is a gorgeous day. It's going to hit 20 degrees. It is only a light breeze and no rain for the rest of the day. Terrific. A day to savor. Um, an ice cream day. I just love ice cream. Any excuse to eat an ice cream. What are we? What are we going to do? First of all, we're going to. I think first of all, we should take a quick look at the newspaper headlines, front pages, and if I can actually get them back, and not always as easy. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Because the main emphasis in the news this morning is that Rishi Sunak is going to give away a lot of money. Is every home to get a £400 cut in its energy bills? Let's see, that'll be half of mine at the moment. But probably a move in the right direction. People are suffering, and while there is the argument is don't spend the money in this way, spend it on tax cuts may have some validity. I think that anything that makes the populace go, oh, thank God they're doing something, is to be admired and to be respected. The Daily Express, which tends to favour the government, is Rishi's £1,200 boost for 8 million. What they're saying is it's not only the £400 cut, but with subsidies and assistances and so on and so forth, is 8 million homes will get a £1,200 benefit. I can do that. I've got a bar bill to pay. Right, the Daily Telegraph. Tories are now the party of big spending, says Sunak. And he says that almost with pride, but he's upsetting a lot of his own people who say, hang on, come on. We are not, and never have been, the party of big spending. What we have been is the party of lowering the tax burden. And that's what we should be doing this time. The Daily Mail so what was it like to watch 70s ABBA on stage in 2022? It says Rishi's 21 billion pound splurge, because they've gone back to the idea of, which is a bit of a U-turn for them, to a windfall tax. A windfall tax is one that's made on companies that make unexpected profits for a one-off situation. And as it's a one-off situation, a windfall tax is just that, a one-off tax. It's not a continuing tax, it's just a tax on those particular profits because they were made unexpectedly. And they were made with, to some extent, the situation engendered by everyday life, if you like, and to some extent our government's policies. The Times, Tories split on tax and spending bonanza, while the the government, in the form of Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor's Department, are giving it away. A lot of Tories are saying, "Hang on, that's not us. We don't do that. Tories don't do that. What we do is we lower the tax bill. We cut taxes. That's the way we are." But this government, this Rishi Sunak, has said, "No, hang on. That's not what we're going to do this time. People are hurting and they need some help." Is he right? Well, the Metro, risky to the rescue at last, it says. The Mirror, about about time, says the Daily Mirror. The Guardian is Sunak unveils a 15 billion package of support after the windfall tax U-turn. We keep getting different amounts. Let's just say substantial, shall we? We'll say substantial monies. It's certainly running into the billions that they're offering. Now, I think a twist between the start and the implementation of some of these things. So we'll have to see how fast they can go. And remember, there was a lot of criticism over COVID when they were going to give a lot of money away, is that the idea was strong, but it didn't happen quite as quickly as we all expected. The Financial Times I just talked about. So, the Sun and the Star, really peripheral stuff, is nothing of great import. It's a pity, really, because I want my daily dose of the Star, because it can be very funny, and it can, it talks about little green men watching us from Mars and that sort of thing. It's esoteric stuff that it's hard to believe, but nonetheless, it lays on thick that, hang on, this intelligence unit have come across this evidence, and so on and so forth. All right, it says 9:51, and we'll the theme of this week today and the first 2-3 weeks days of next week is the Jubilee, which really focuses, even though it's a year-long celebration, it focuses on the 2nd and the 3rd of next week. And we have been doing little bits and pieces to show what it's about. So let's look, first of all, let's look at the souvenir program that is coming out for Lewis, and which should be on sale, is on sale. But certainly the extra copies being sold around tomorrow. It costs £3, and all the money goes to charity. So I think it's well worthwhile that we have a look at that. Just to take a look at inside, really. So here we go. Oh, come on in, Ollie. Yeah.
Some interesting times in the
Yes, well, I mean, it's sort of good. You could comment on the windfall tax and the money and so on. Yeah. The mic. In comes waltzing Oliver, and full of. Actually, I'm glad that he has, because the newspaper headlines and front pages are all about energy, and he's our energy expert. We've had some good days this week. I mean, you were in on Wednesday, and we had a really good day, and perhaps we can now have a little bit of fun. As well as a bit of expert commentary on what on earth is going on because every time that something seems to happen, is first there are U-turns, criticisms, and so on and so forth. So anyway, let's get your comment on the current state of affairs with. I mean, a variety of different figures, but. Let's give you some typical headline stuff. We start off with the I. Every home to get £400 cut in energy bills.
Yes.
Right. What's that all about?
Well, it's opium to the masses, isn't it? Trying to actually palm them all off. £400 is not going to get £400 is not going to get them very far.
No, it's not. And in fact, what a lot of Tories are saying is, hang on, we're the party of tax cuts, not of huge spending. So why are we doing all this?
Well, because it's absolutely necessary, because it's an absolute crisis. Along with the inflation and food costs going up, energy bills are going up. We're now told in October 1, when Ofgem sets the prices. Ofgem sets the price, the energy cap, twice a year, 1st of April and 1st of October. And it told us, a select committee actually, it's going up to £2,800 in October. That is really what fuel poverty plus. Who are the poor people can actually manage to find £2,800 for their energy bill? As Martin Lewis keeps saying, people who don't starve to death will freeze to death. And that is the case. So they are trying now to, usual old stuff, by the electorate round, by all kinds of bonuses, or as it were. Now they've now said that they're going to do a windfall tax on the fossil fuels of the North Sea, and they're very upset about this, saying it's absolutely unfair, it's nauseous. Also, which has come as a surprise to me, they are going to learn a 15 billion windfall tax on the electricity companies. This means the energy suppliers. Now, people who follow us will know that I've been going on about the cartels that have appeared in the energy supply situation. Now, there is a big cartel, 5 people now, consisting of British Gas, English, EDF, French, E.ON, German, Npower, German, and Scottish Power, owned by Spanish interests. And they have been paying themselves absolute fortunes and giving a lot of money off to their shareholders. The facts now that they are going to be penalised has made me jump over hoops, whatever it's called. Well, I'm very, very pleased to hear it because it's long overdue, because these people are taking the piss out of us. And it's all due to, the fact that these companies were allowed to set their prices as near to their energy cap as they possibly could. So if it goes up to, say, 280,000, then EDF, for example, will say 2,700, just to manage not go beyond the cap, if you see what I mean. Right. So that is really good news, because that means that the poorer people particularly. Well, I think Max and I worked the other day that if you take there are 28 million homes in this country, and 20.5, let's round that back to 29. And if you amount the money that's already been applied, there was 22 billion, wasn't there, a couple of weeks ago? Now there's 15 billion, and it comes out, let's say, over 32, and divide 32 by 29, and you get 1,145, which is really quite generous, it would seem. But it is a one-off, and it will help us over the winter.
Right.
But it will still leave the poorest people with 1,700 to pay.
To find, yeah.
So my thing was that why don't they sort of set up a sort of pension scheme, or energy pension scheme? Well, pensions, say you work for a company, you put in some money yourself, and the company puts in the rest.
Right.
Well, in this case, you could put in some money for your own thing, your own costs for energy, and the government could pay the rest, and that would be ongoing. It wouldn't be just a windfall tax.
I actually did moot that earlier today. You had come up with a very good idea, and it made sense to me. So I'm glad you're here to explain it. But there are lots of figures being bandied around, Stuart. The Daily Express says Rishi's £1,200 boost for 8 million people. So, okay, £400, £1,200. Steer us through all these figures that are being bandied around.
But it's very unclear, isn't it? I mean, no, Rishi on 12, the rest of the Daily Express, you can't expect them to get everything right. Anyway, that makes sense, because the actual sum we've all got is 1,500, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's 1,200 plus the 400 or whatever.
Well, I suppose
almost. Yeah. Right. The Daily Telegraph, the Tories are now the party of big spending, says Sunak, and he sounds to be quite proud of it. But the dyed-in-the-blue Tories are saying, hey, we're not so sure about this, and also it is considered to be a U-turn on the windfall tax. Now, were you surprised that they changed their minds and went for the windfall?
I was really, but you see, then again, what you've got to realise is that the big energy companies, the big fossil fuel companies like BP and Shell are part of the Tory establishment. They make a lot of money, a great deal of money, and their argument is that they pay huge dividends, and these huge dividends go towards pension funds. Therefore, they're being jolly good. But I've done my research, and it's only 10% of the pension funds on the stock exchange that actually get this windfall from it. So it's a bit measly mouth, the whole thing. It's just Very difficult to quite know.
Yeah. So the Daily Mail now says Rishi's £21 billion splurge. It's figures all over the place. What's the total 21 billion splurge?
God only knows. So 50, he's now talking about 15 billion. And now we got a 5 billion windfall tax U-turn. God almighty. With so many U-turns, we're falling over with dizziness.
Absolutely. And the Tories are split on tax and spending bonanza. What they're saying is it should really go to just a simple cut in income tax.
Look, all the Tory backwoodsmen are worried about is holding on to their seats.
Yeah, of course.
They'll say anything. Please, Boris.
And the Metro is Rishi to the rescue at last. Now, the Metro is not necessarily sympathetic to the government, but that sounds like a sympathetic sort of, you've acted at last, good lads. So do you go along with they've acted at last, good lads?
Well, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, look, every paper's giving us different figures, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
We know here it's 5 billion windfall tax U-turn. He says, it's going to be 15 billion.
Yeah,
no, it's not. It's 10 billion.
Yeah,
oh my God.
The Guardian is on 15 billion. It's and you've got the Financial Times there. So what is the Financial Times saying?
Phoenix 5 billion windfall tax U-turn sparks angers from energy groups. North Sea and gas operators, including BP and Shell, hit back at Rishi Sunak's 5 billion windfall tax on the sector, warning it was a multi-year assault on their profits that would drive away investors and cut production. Ha, 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 ha.
Right, okay. Now, give one of your very incisive summing up, having looked at those headlines and cutting through the crap, if I can put it that way. Give us a nice little summation of the situation as you see it.
Well, I think all these windfall taxes and so forth, I mean, if true and so forth, in fact, will actually buy time. I think Max and I worked out, taking, best figures we could get, that the most homes will get a bonanza of £1,145. Now, the fact is, if the average 3-bedroom house bill is going to come to £2,800, that still leaves quite a lot for the householder to find.
Right. Yeah.
Take 1/4 for 5 from 2 to 8, that would still leave what, 1/5, 1/6, something like that. And then it's just a windfall. It's just what it is. It's a one-off. It's like getting someone's death in a will. It doesn't come around next year and the year after.
Yeah.
So what Max and I said, well, what about having a pension, an energy pension? The company's pension schemes, for example, the person who pays in a bit of money, and the company pays the rest. Why don't we have an energy pension, which the consumer or the customer pays some of the money, and the government pays the rest? Right. And this is an ongoing thing year after year after year.
Oh, good morning, Cliff. You got the dog walking duties this morning.
Yeah, so I'm just training him up in the bar.
Can he reach as far as the Sussex wrist?
No, I'm afraid you can only have anything off the bottom shelf from now on.
There's Cliff Ayres, the owner of the hotel, and he and Sally, his wife, share the dog walking duties at this hour of the morning. Good. Well, let's just take a moment or two, because the next week our theme has got to be the Jubilee. So first of all, we did this little thing because Mick Symes was in, and there is a little souvenir brochure that's on sale. Let's just take a quick look at that one, and we can see what's on the inside pages with any luck at all. There we are. Right.
But I remember the coronation thing, and I was like 50 years old, believe it or not.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, the coronation was a year later, wasn't it? Okay, Mirador coming to you from the White Hart Hotel. With me is Stuart Dolby, better known as Oliver Hardy, because if anybody can bumble along, it's him.
No, it's you, Stanley.
Oh, it's me. Oh dear, 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 dear. I do. Now, that little vignette is this is the memorial thing, if you like. It's a little program of events, but full of articles about the Queen's visits here and their relationship with the monarchy. It's £3, and all the money goes to charity. So do pick one up. It'll be on sale tomorrow in the precinct, and it's on sale in various shops and so on around the town. But in doing that, we showed the castle. A castle of which we're very proud, and rightly so. But there is drama taking place in the bits that you can't see, inasmuch as is Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and the wall collapsed. And Stuart is at the very center of this collapse on the wall. So give us a little background again as to what's happened, Stuart,
Well, actually,
and then give us the latest.
Well, the wall hasn't collapsed. You realise there has been 2 collapses in the past. One was there were 600 tons fell down at the back of the castle ditch. Okay, and that was about 3 years ago. And the 3 houses there, have been restored. I think by the insurance people. I wouldn't be sure, but the little staircase, lovely staircase up to the magic circle and top up onto the car park is still yet to be done, and that is still waiting to be done. I don't know. We don't know who pays for this. You see, this is the interesting thing. Now, the second thing was when the entrance to the castle, coming off of the high street, bits of it start sort of falling down. And I said, well, that's very good for tourism, isn't it? Come to Lewis and get your head bashed in. Anyway, and now the third problem is that there is a bit of a crisis in Castle Banks and Castle Rise. Now, Castle Banks is a little road going up to the top of the car park. Castle Rise is a little twitten going up to the castle, and it's size. Now, go further along past Castle Rise, and you come to New Road, where I happen to live. And what has happened is that three houses in Castle Banks and three terrace houses in Castle Rise have come under threat from the castle wall coming down on them. We, fortunately, are further up. The castle wall doesn't extend, but it's quite serious business. And at the bottom of the new road, in fact, is about 6 vans and a big scaffolding outfit of people who seem to be doing something about it. So the whole of New Road has been affected in terms of the cars coming down and not being able to turn around and go back, and so on and so forth. So I've been trying, me and particularly the Castle Banks Residents Association, have been trying to actually find out who is responsible for the maintenance of the castle wall.
Right.
And nobody seems able to tell us. So I spoke to one councillor, and he said, well, it's certainly not the castle who's responsible. I said, I really know, because that's a trust or something like that. It could be the district council, which I don't think is clear. Or finally, it could be that the residents have to pay. Now, I remember back in the day when the wall opposite my house in New Road came crumbling down, and the government or the district council said for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, no, so the residents got to pay. So the residents got to pay. And at the end, the county council paid because they're in charge of highways and byways. So I've been trying to discover who is responsible for this wall being maintained and the people not being, safeguarded. And it so happened that I went in the local pub and I met a resident of Castle Banks whose name should be remained nameless. And I said, well, who's in charge? And he said, well, I think ultimately the residents are. I'm up against the wall, Brown Mound, what's it called? Great Mound Bolt. Great Mold. The wall is up, goes up, doesn't it, to the castle?
Yes.
Well, he's got that, so he's insured against it, just in case. He's not under threat at the moment, but he's a bit worried. So that's as far as I've got, and I'm going to try and contact the district council, but that is a very arduous process. They don't seem to know how to answer the telephone. And when they do answer the telephone, you have to wait for an hour before somebody talks to you.
Yes. Well, we actually tried from here, didn't we, the other morning?
Yeah.
And you got absolutely nowhere. Yeah. I mean, this is modern day communication, and this is very typical of governance.
Well, I think the district council is incompetent in most areas.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. But any time that you suggest reform, they go into a tizzy. I mean, who wants to reform a gravy train?
Well, they don't get paid, but they do get so-called allowances. Ha ha ha.
Yes, right.
That's one of them wants to get some money to build a moat around his house, like Quentin Hogg did, didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually that they get an allowance every time they turn up at a committee meeting or something of the sort.
Well, they get costs as well, don't they?
Yes, yeah. It's a nice little earner, actually.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
In fact, I think there have been people who have actually lived off it.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Of course not. So there are two key issues. One is the energy costs, and the other is that
A local one.
yeah, well, I suppose really energy costs in the long run, as we say, we are local but not parochial. Is what's going on nationally is affecting us here in Lewis.
Yeah.
All right, we are a wealthier community, or the most, but we've got a broad spectrum of people. We've got a broad, we've got the poor along with the wealthy. It's going to affect us and people here. And it'll be interesting to see how this situation that is now being created by the Conservative government it impacts here, as it's administered by what I mean. It's a rainbow hue, isn't it, of the local council? Who knows who's in charge?
Well, the Greens are having their day at the moment. They seem to win quite a lot of seats because everybody's interested in climate change.
Yeah,
they're not very competent, I don't think, the Green people. They don't really. Well, I know they're not. I mean, because I told you this a bit before. I think 2 years ago I went to a sustainability meeting, and they said we're going to have carbon emissions, zero carbon emissions by 2030, and I said, how are you going to do that? And one of them said, oh, we're going to install electric charging points in Lewis and plant trees. 2 years later, they did an update and said, we are thinking about installing electric charging. So I said, well, bloody taking the time, haven't you? Do you know how many public electric charging points are in Lewis? 8. Can you believe it? Now, 2,300 trees, but God knows when they're going to be able to take in a load of old carbon. I would have thought so.
Yeah. So actually, the very best scenario is that you would have to queue for a couple of hours to get your car charged.
Well, some of them don't even work, apparently.
So the 8 comes down to
7. Well, a lot of people have got bought private ones, of course.
Yes, I mean
The wealthier.
The wealthier. Well, once again, I mean, to get these things is one of the things that Mick Symes told me on Monday is that there is one company that is selling your own private beacon, and that you can actually have a beacon all to yourself on next Thursday when all the beacons are lit throughout the country.
What is a beacon?
Well, a beacon is a bonfire. And they traditionally, because that's the way that we used to warn against invasion, is beacons have been lit. They were lit. You and I would not remember particularly because we were kids. They were lit for the coronation, and they've been lit for the various major events since. And on Thursday, beacons are going to be lit right up and down the country.
This town is obsessed with anything to do with fire.
Oh, absolutely. Ah, well.
Bonfire is a major event.
Absolutely. Well, on
bonfire, we get 60,000 people come in, and by the morning, this is the one thing the council can do.
Well,
they are very, very good about clearing up after bonfire.
Yes, they are.
Very good.
That I will give them.
So we give them one tick then. One half a tick.
But we have on Saturday a massive fireworks display at 10 o'clock at night, paid for by the town council.
Really?
Yes.
But look, I mean, the sun is shining, not even going to see the fireworks going off. What are you talking about? Look, if you let off a firework now over there, you wouldn't even see the sparkle, would you?
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. However, somebody in their wisdom has decided it shall take place at 10 o'clock at night. So we should be able to see it. And I think actually it's going to be up on the race course, which is in direct line of sight to your house, which means that you're going to get the full blast of the fireworks, whether you want them or not.
Well, the fact is, I don't have to go down and struggle amongst the crowds because I can pull my top window down and put my head out and see all the things.
Right.
Yeah, we have buckets of water on hand in case anybody wants to let.
I think actually, Stuart, your house is going to be the best one to go to. You know that?
Well, I'll tell you something. Back in the day when it was I was a DFL because it was a second home. My 3 daughters used to have to draw straws for who would have the house on bonfire.
Right.
And it's only a small terrace cottage, you know, and once my oldest daughter Thea, she had 12 people in there, sleeping left, right, and centre, hanging from the ceiling, that kind of thing. And we couldn't even get in, you know. But it's great. I mean, it's a great institution, really. I mean, it really is. I think it's tremendous.
We are very, very good at fireworks here.
Yeah.
We really are. I mean, if there's anything this town is good at, and it was interesting to see that the very first event that bounced back full force was November the 5th.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it wasn't about November 5th originally. It was about the burning of the martyrs.
That's right.
And then November 5th came in later on, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that once again, I think it was Mick Symes was talking about the fact that the royal family would come down and spend time in Horsted Canes with the Neville family, who are a very big family here.
Oh, with Moolah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very rich, very rich.
Rich, yes.
All right, but the royal family, don't tell, yeah.
But in fact, in the past, Guy Fawkes, I believe, worked for the Neville family. He was a steward here just outside Lewes, and before he went off and was persuaded to go and try to blow up the House of Commons. So we've got quite
so it's Jacobites, wasn't it? You know,
yes.
Those Jacobites.
Oh, those Jacobites, yes. Well, you know what I'm doing.
Difficult lot.
Yeah.
Difficult
Yeah. Now, if we're not careful, we're going to get into the McPhees and the Campbells.
No, but listen, just to tell you about one bonfire story and how nationalised this town is about it all. I walked into the back bar of the Brewers Arms where a guy was dressed up as a cavalier, ready to march. And he said, "Oh, how long have you lived here?" "Well, I've had a house here for a long time, but I haven't lived here." Well, I said, "Well, because I've been foreign abroad a lot." And I said, "Oh, about 40 years. The bloke looked at me, he says, "It's not enough. I'm 53. I was born here." I wasn't allowed. You know?
Oh no! You not only have to be born here, but your parents have to be born here, and your parents' parents have to be born here. I mean, the funny thing is that also there is a line from the Russians who were held in the old naval prison.
That's right.
Is that there are some families that stem from them.
Yeah.
I mean, the officers were given furlough, and they obviously furloughed their way into some of the local beds.
Well, that naval building is wonderful. And as I walk past it in Aberdeen Place, I often wonder, what is a naval college building doing in Lewes? We're 7 miles from the flipping sea, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, it's only a question of purchase, I think. I don't think it was built as a naval prison.
It's a lovely building.
Well, what's left of it?
What's left of it? Yeah.
The wall, but of course the other sacred cow is the obelisk in St. John sub Castro churchyard.
Yes, exactly.
To those Russians who died.
That was the Polish, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Polish, wasn't it?
Sorry, a Finnish. Yeah, they were Finns.
Finns are Polish.
Yeah.
Oh, same sort of chap.
Yeah. I mean, they were part of the Russian Empire at the time.
Yeah. Same sort of chap. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Russians, Finns, Poles.
Right. Let's just take a break from us binning off here, because one of the things that I quite liked is that if we can just find it, I think it's you can never find anything when you want to, can you? There's a nice little piece on Mad Jack Fuller, and done by a couple of students that worked for us a little while ago. I can't actually see it now, which is a great pity because it was quite well done. But what we will do is, because you and your acolyte young Max
No,
were having well, you took over the program, and I'm delighted that you did. And the so he did a nice little piece on his view of Lewis when he first, because he lives outside Lewis and he hadn't really been to Lewis, and he gave his impressions on camera as his first little piece for us. So let's take a look at it, shall we?
Today, I'm in a small town called Lewis, in the south of England, just a few miles away from Brighton. I will be taking a walk through Lewis and some of the historical sites, which date back over 1,000 years in this show, Hidden in Plain Sight. One of the best things to do in Lewis is explore the streets, as there is lots of historic Twittons to explore and look through. The high street is packed with small and independent shops, and there are plenty of pubs and restaurants to choose from. Lewis Castle was built just after the Norman conquest in 1066. The construction of the castle was started in 1068 and only took 2 years to complete. A war broke out below Lewis Castle, a war between Simon de Montfort, Earl of Leicester, and Henry III in 1264. Lewis is well known for its history, and one of the historical landmarks is a place called the Hart Hotel. Whilst not being so obvious at first sight, it has a significant role to play in American history. Thomas Paine was an English-born American political activist, philosopher, and revolutionary. He authored books called Common Sense in 1776 and The American Crises in 1776 to 1783, two of the most influential books in American history, and had a major part to play in the start of the American Revolution. And it helped inspire the Americans in 1776 to declare independence from Great Britain. Thomas Paine also wrote a book called The Rights of Man, which is referred to as a cornerstone to modern-day democracy, and it all started in the small town of Lewis, in a room in the White Hart Hotel. But Lewis is not just known for its history, it's also known for its natural beauty. In the greater Lewis area, there are some beautiful rolling hills and hiking trails that you can just walk through for miles, and whilst on these trails you can truly appreciate the beauty of the English countryside. The River Ouse is one of the longest rivers in the country and goes through Lewis. It's a beautiful sight to see and is home to many different species of fish. Lewis has so many different trails to choose from. It can take you all through the town, fields and hills. I would personally recommend Marlingdown Nature Reserve and the Lewis Downs, as you can stand atop of the hills and see for miles, which is a sight to behold and one you don't get to see that often. You've been watching Mirador TV and this show, Hidden in Plain Sight by Max Hurd. Thanks so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.
There, now they can hear us. Yeah, he did a nicer job there. It's technically a few deficiencies, but all in all, it was interesting to see an 18-year-old's view of Lewis coming into it for the first time.
I thought you did the narrative very well.
Yes, indeed.
Very modulated, modulated and nicely.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, no, we slowly the team is rebuilding and with some good people, including yourself, if I may say. So I never said that. No. Be careful. I have to be careful what I say, otherwise he takes advantage of me. Now, one thing that is in the papers this morning, on the inside paper, is that Eccleston was arrested with a gun. Act now to protect freedom of the press, MPs urged. Now, have you followed this business of legislation to curb people like Google and so on?
Not really, but I mean, I find freedom of the press is a very, very difficult issue, incredible issue. We in fact, apart from libel laws, in the UK, we have very, very good laws about the freedom of the press. We do have freedom to say what we want, basically, as long as we don't libel people. That has been my estimate, as my my feeling, and I had a 36-year career at the Financial Times, and I was a person on the foreign desk where I had to read all the foreign stories to the libel lawyers in the evening. And that's why we never got libel, because we were very, very, vigilant about not being libel, because it costs money apart from anything else. But I've also written for the Observer and the Guardian and Sunday Telegraph. I keep that to yourself.
Well, you don't tell anybody.
And I think that here we do enjoy, as we do enjoy freedom of speech, providing we don't start, doing excess, and I don't think anybody does. I mean, I would very much like to see Murdoch's papers muzzled, but that would actually contradict what I just said.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point really is, in many ways, is that people express their like or dislike of a newspaper based on their own political views.
Quite.
I think one of the things that we've got in this country is that the wide spectrum of papers which reflect different political views, and they live in harmony.
Well, I agree with you, but I mean, I think that it's not just political views. I mean, if you look at Murdoch's paper, they basically are based on titillation and pandering to the lowest common prejudice and stoking up fears, kind of thing that Trump used to like, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good idea, but he has his right to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly like, I'm liberal myself, so I don't particularly like Telegraph ranting on about things they don't fully seem to understand, and so on and so forth. But I agree with their ability, their freedom to do so.
Now, as I understand it, is that this act is supposed to curb the excesses of people like Google and so on, but that a lot of the newspapers are saying, or a lot of the media are saying, is it could be used to muzzle people like you and I.
Well, I think that this is very, very difficult, isn't it? And, you can't have people swearing on Google or saying, he's effing what's it, or this. Yes, I don't know quite how it would be policed. I just can't quite see it, can you?
No.
I mean, unless these companies do it themselves. This is really what's needed. So, I mean, I certainly, the people who own mine, the papers I work for, well, we're very, very vigilant about this. You mustn't say that kind of thing, or you mustn't. That's what you're told.
Yeah, but those were looked at by editors that were real people.
Yeah.
These algorithms or buggerithm or whatever the hell that they are. I can give you an example. For instance, in the very early days of Mirador, we did a little piece on the War Memorial, and it was rejected by Facebook, I think it was, as being obscene, because the algorithm had caught the breasts of one of the ladies at the base of the memorial. Yeah. I mean, it's silly things like that.
But what do they do about that? Yeah. What is an algorithm? I thought it's something that you did at GCS to get arithmetic.
Yeah, me too. it's all these rhythms.
What is an algorithm? Can you explain it to me?
Well, no, I can't really, except it's a piece of software, I think, that sifts through everything that comes in, and it is geared to pick out sort of obscenities and that sort of thing. And therefore reject the piece if it's got an obscene. But
what Facebook, the bosses of Facebook actually said you couldn't do this.
Well, I think it's not only Facebook. I think Google and a whole lot now have got this. They've got this software which so if you go on and you say F, it sort of the algorithm says. I mean, I'm not sure whether I got the right term, algorithm. I just know it's a rhythm. But it says this piece uses a foul word 27 times. Therefore, it can't be it can't be a sensible piece. Cut it. That's my understanding of it.
Sounds like somebody getting up and having a dance, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Night fever. I mean, like that, look, I mean, you have the Rodin statue. One of the pride of this town is that John May, the campaigner and good friend of mine, he actually got the Rodin statue here, didn't he?
Yes,
Now,
he was part of the group, wasn't he?
That has got a lot of body parts shown. Is that obscene or what?
Well, of
No.
course, the story of the kiss
Yeah.
is quite interesting, isn't it? Because it sat in a garage unheralded and unknown for about 10 years.
Yeah.
It had been commissioned by some mad American. And then, and I believe that it was at the time of the First World War.
It was,
because,
yes, yeah.
there are pictures of things being covered up.
Yeah.
With the armed forces being given a meal in the town hall, and things being covered up so they wouldn't see these lascivious pictures of the kiss. But I understand that some lady came along, and nobody was too upset about it. She came along and went to the town fathers and said, "Oi, you've got an obscene statue. Better do something about it." So it disappears from view again for another 10 years.
Well, I mean, apart from ogling old boys like us, I mean, what I can't understand that really in this, in the 21st century, that people are going to be offended by going to see a statue like that.
Well, I don't think they are anymore. But of course, it's supposed to sit in the Tate Gallery, but it is so popular that it travels the world. It keeps on going around the world.
It's an amazing piece of sculpture, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah. I mean, it is actually quite elegant and beautiful if you take the time to look at it carefully. I mean, yes, I can see that it is slightly erotic.
I'm just interested in the male's musculators. Muscles.
Is that like an algorithm? Right. Okay. Let's just see what else we can find here. It is 10:46. We will go to 11 o'clock this morning because we've got a little admin to do, we mustn't cheat our public, and particularly since you're here now. What else have we got that we can take a look at?
Oh, Jane, could I have some coffee? No.
I'm glad to hear her do that because she bullies me first thing in the morning. Now she can bully you.
What is your algorithm against me having a cup of coffee?
My algorithm.
Your algorithm. What do you think an algorithm means? Is it something you do at GCSE arithmetic or what?
No, I don't know. It's so long ago, I couldn't tell you what I
here we are. Here's the one that I wanted to play, which we will. All about Mad Jack Fuller.
Oh, right. You told me that.
Yes, Mad Jack. I've played it 2 or 3 times recently, and I like it very much. I think it's a nice piece, and it's one of those things that, once again, it's quite nicely done.
I always find it strange how 2 people can experience and view a place in completely different ways.
Jack Fuller was born into money, and at the age of 20 he moved to Brightling in East Sussex after inheriting land and a fortune from his uncle Rose. At the age of 22, Fuller became the Member of Parliament for Southampton. Fuller lost his seat after a vicious row over his support for slavery. This was the time when he began to focus more on his estate and his love of combining art and science.
I moved down from Glasgow to Sussex when I was 9 years old, and that would be in 2003. I first saw the Follies when my granddad was driving me through Brightling, and I remember looking at them and just asking him what these strange buildings were.
Jack Fuller was affectionately known as Mad Jack by local residents who did not understand his fascination with useless buildings. A folly is a building with no purpose other than decoration. The first of Jack's 6 follies was the summer house. Jack was a keen gambler, and he entered into a wager that he could see the spire of Dallington Church from his window. Upon realising that he was mistaken, he quickly constructed the sugarloaf to very effectively mimic the church spire.
I looked out of my girlfriend's window and saw this strange building in the distance, and I asked her, what is this strange building? And she replied that it was the Sugarloaf. The first time I went, I remember I took my girlfriend there and I gave her a love letter.
The Rotunda Temple was built to hold artwork, most notably paintings commissioned from J.M.W. Turner. Jack was a philanthropist, and during an economic depression, he hired hundreds of local labourers to build a huge wall around his estate. However, the wall did not stop trespassers.
We all thought the temple was full of art, and I was a bit shocked to find out that there was none. All I found when I first went in was graffiti left from the Canadian Air Force that was stationed on the estate during the Second World War.
The temple is the motif for the internationally renowned Breitling horse trials, which brings in competitors and spectators from all walks of life. The Hermit's Watchtower was built so that Jack could survey his land and have views of the sea.
The tower was my special place. I used to go there when I was feeling a bit down or I had to clear my mind. As you go up the stairs, on the right-hand side, my girlfriend's initials are still there. Mine, well, are not there anymore. When I was feeling alone, I would go to the top of the tower, I would lie down, I would stare through the open roof. I'd wait for nightfall, and then I would look at all the stars. I would wonder what my place on this earth is. Why I was here, and I would also wonder why the Follies are here. And it dawned on me that the Follies aligned almost with the stars, and it feels like some of them are there to replicate Orion's belt, others are there to be individual stars, like the observatory would be Betelgeuse. I've heard some people argue that the observatory is not a folly as it serves a purpose, but don't all the follies serve a purpose? They serve our local history, our culture. When I first came to Sussex from Glasgow, I was such an outsider. People had no idea what I was saying, and I had to get something to point me in the right direction.
The obelisk dominates the landscape and is the second highest point in Sussex.
I remember looking up at the needle and realising that it pierces the vast, uninterrupted sky.
Jack Fuller commissioned the pyramid to be his mausoleum 24 years before his death. This immense structure draws attention away from the Thomas à Becket church, in whose graveyard it stands.
I've heard that Jack was buried in the pyramid sitting up in his armchair, with a glass of claret and a roast chicken dinner in front of him. The follies are all focal points, but don't let them fool you. Their place in the landscape belies their size and their distance. In the beginning I was hungry to consume them, and I had rushed to each one in turn. But a short distance turned into a mile, a run into a trek. At last, I grew to love the surroundings and adopted the follies as guides rather than destinations.
Jack Fuller was respected by many as a squire who, at a time of extreme poverty, when soldiers were returning from the Napoleonic War, did what he could to provide employment and prevent revolution. He was ridiculed by others for his views on slavery and his obsession with erecting follies while people were going hungry.
Fuller's follies are an important part of my life and have helped me to find my place. I know many people have followed this path before I have, and I love nothing better than bringing new people to experience them and to fall in love like I did.
Right. We just stop the lovely music now. Now, while that was being shown, the lovely Jane came in to feed him his morning coffee. Why he gets this sort of service when he walks in, I have no idea. It must be that cheeky grin of his. But we did very briefly talk about the fact that Stuart has a novel that has been on the market for a little while, and it is a very good novel. And I think that we should just let people know that as an author, you have this novel, and you're working on a second one, actually. But it is called Friends of Rathlin Island. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And in those people who actually look and don't know what Rathlin Island is, it is a small island equidistant between Scotland and Northern Ireland, which became bloody and bloody and bloody because the Scottish chiefs and the Irish chiefs used to use it as the battleground. And it is where Robert the Bruce hid in a cave and saw the spider, where the saying came, if at first you don't succeed, try, try, try again. But that is a setting of Stuart's novel, and an exciting novel it is too. So I would very much push that novel for you, The Friends of Rathlin Island by Stuart Dolby. See if you can get it. Is it still on Amazon, is it?
I'm not sure it is on Amazon. I think so. It might be.
Right. If not, where can they get it?
Polperro Heritage Press. I don't know. You can get it at Waterstones.
Waterstones, yeah. Right.
They get it for you.
Yeah, good. Okay, there we go. And I think that not enough has been said about that. Okay, it is now exactly 11 o'clock. And we have the ability to go on to 11:30, but I think we might just call it a day at this stage.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us. We just make sure that everything it goes properly. We will be back on Monday morning next week. I doubt, because we don't really have the facility, that we will do a great deal live on the 2 days, Thursday and Friday, which are public holidays. But we would urge you to take advantage, particularly on the Saturday night, of the bonfire. Stephen Catlin, former Mayor Stephen Catlin, was at pains to say it is not a bonfire event. It is a joint effort by all the bonfire societies, plus one or two more, and paid for by the town council. But a fireworks spectacular on Saturday night. And apparently it starts at 10 o'clock at night. And if you want a really good view, because it is on private land, so you can't go marching on the way that you can do at bonfire time. But if you go to, I think it's either Landport Bottom or Malling Field, you get a very, very good view of the whole thing. So if you want to see the spectacular, that's where you go. It's a bit after my bedtime, actually, at 10 o'clock at night. But I do wish everybody well who does go to see it. Right, okay. So we'll be back next week. Yes, we can fit in. Stuart's Day is Wednesday, along with Max. So I will see you Monday and Tuesday, and then I put you in the tender hands of the old man here, who will steer you through on Wednesday, and he can make an even bigger muck up of it than I do. So this is Keith Hayes and Stuart Dolby saying to you, toodle pip, and we hope that the algorithm doesn't cut us out for being obscene. Ta-ra.